What's going on, everyone? So today I want to share with you this company called Ehang with the ticker symbol EH. And in short, if you're not sure what Ehang is, essentially the simplest way to explain this company is they are pretty much giant drones that can transport people or logistics, things of that nature. So in short, they have the technical definition where it's essentially autonomous aerial vehicles, which is short for AAV. And then you can even check out the little summary we have here. But once I show you some more pictures and videos of what they do, it'll make more sense. But in simple terms, basically drones that can transport you. So here is actually why I wanted to share with you, because check out the current stock price, and the market is closed right now when I'm recording this. But the current price is at around 124, and recently this has seen a surge, and it's quite insane actually. So if we were to just sit here and let's just expand this out on the 1 year chart first, just to show you like what happened. So around pretty much the average price for the pretty much 2020 was around sub 15-ish $20 mark, right? So here, and then recently all of a sudden, it started to increase. Now we're reaching the $25 mark range, and then all of a sudden, so if I want to sit here and just show you, so just before this year started, we're right at 2020, and then right when the year pretty much 2021 starts, and it's less than 2 months, right, from the year just starting, and we're around the $21 mark. And as you can see, at the last price before the market closed, it was at 124 now. So we've pretty much seen a 6x increase of Ehang in literally less than 2 months, and that's quite insane because this company is, I would say it's fairly low in terms of the market cap too. It's only 6.79 bill, which is quite low. Again, that's my own opinion. But I think that was insane because I wanted to show you this like insane spike in price, and seeing here it's hovering around $70, and all of a sudden, boom, jumps up to almost 125 plus, which is quite insane. So that's just a quick run through of the stock price and then what the stock has been doing for the past few weeks. And before I get into the summary and what Ehang actually does, just remember, everything I say in this video is not financial advice. Make sure you do plenty of research before making any investments. But here, let's actually go ahead and check out Ehang. And here I am on Finviz, and I just went on there and typed in EH. And you can see here, this is probably an easier view of the chart. But yeah, I mean, look at this. Flat around sub 10-ish, 15-ish, and then goes crazy right here, all the way up to 125 plus. But we can check out the financials right now. And net total revenue for the past few years, 120, 180, 60, and then net income. So it's currently, obviously, it's not profitable yet. But here, let's check out this. So they have a PowerPoint on their slide, and then I'm going to go through these because these are the easiest to show you what they actually are doing. And then they have a lot more videos and things of that nature, which if you're interested, you can check out on their actual website. But you can also check out this little PowerPoint slideshow too. They have links on the site too. But I want to show you some interesting like points off from this. So here, obviously, they have this. Let me zoom out a little bit so it's easier to see. So it tells them what they do. But I want to show you this part. So this one's actually pretty cool. So check this out. So here is their current portfolio. So let me zoom in a little bit more. So you can see here they have the 2-seater, and it's the EH216. They have this firefighting one, which is actually pretty cool because I've seen videos of this in the States, and it's actually pretty cool. I don't know how big their specific model is, but the one I've seen, it's like, typical, if you've seen drones before, like the DJIs and whatnot, it's like a slightly bigger version. I'm not sure how big this one is, but the actual passenger seat one is, it's quite big because you have to fit actual people in here. Then they have one for logistics. So in terms of something that's relatable, if you are living in America, for instance, you've heard of Amazon doing something similar with drone deliveries. So this is something that they have under their portfolio right there. They also have a 1-seater. Now that's quite interesting. I'll share some of my thoughts later at the end of the video, but that's pretty cool. And then they obviously have the non-passenger ones as well. So these are pretty cool too. And I'm sure some of these can be used for like military purposes and whatnot. But yeah, these are just like typical, upgraded, I guess, drone variations there. And then here you can see like the AAV operating platform. And then you can see pretty much they have in the white paper, which I'll show you in a second, there's a central control system. So it's essentially, they think of, obviously, if people were just, controlling their own drone passenger vehicles, like they would just do whatever they want, which is not the best case, especially in big major cities. So they actually have central control just to make sure everything, is functioning properly. And then they have a cool video on their site and where it shows like the setup in terms of like how the drones can, be charged, moved around, and stored in space. And then here's like a more detailed view. So we can see here, let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like 8. Yeah, it looks like 8 propellers right now. And that was actually really interesting is they're showing like mainly this is for the looks like the 1-seater, or maybe that's a 2. I can't. Yeah, it looks like a 2-seater actually. And that's cool. You have a little luggage carrier here. And then this is just more detailed views on like how the actual at least the passenger drone looks like. And then here's actually some like real life pictures. You can check them out. And no, this is actually already being flown and tested. So like if in case you're thinking these are like prototypes, in case you've never seen this before, there's actually people who've been inside of these passenger drone vehicles, or I don't know what you call AAVs, and they've already been tested around. So just keep that in mind. Like they're already using this, testing this out. Now here are just some use cases. Obviously, passenger transportation, that's one. Again, depending on the city and obviously the country you live in, this might work. But right now, since it's mainly in China and they're targeting European countries right now, it seems to be their main focus point. In terms of regulations in America, I mean, there's so many risks. I would say there's so many risks involved with having, giant flying drone vehicles in, like, imagine in New York City or LA. That at least for Chinese companies, I don't see that happening anytime soon. But maybe in American companies, because there's obviously American companies that are building something similar, like actually Uber. If you've seen, they had preview videos a few years back of like Uber Air. So I don't know when that's going to be released. I stated on their site around the 2023 in like Texas and like major cities. But in terms of Chinese companies focusing back on just Ehang, that was just something I want to share. They have logistics, obviously. Think of this like Amazon transportation type stuff for people in the States. Like I said earlier, central management, and then there's some cool stuff here too. And then again, here's some use cases just to give you more of like a visual of what's going on. This is cool too, especially I could see this big in like tourist areas, giving some sort of, tour. And it's kind of like helicopter tours. If you've ever been to major cities, you've seen people on social media, helicopter tours, except this way is a much cheaper and more, I'd say, is much easier to set up. And I'll show you, I believe they have some more details in the white paper when I was reading it, if I'm correct, of the comparison of like helicopters versus these AAVs. And then obviously they have the transportation too. So here's like just aerial logistics. So if you see things in like offshore, they need something to be transported, that'd be a cool way to do it. And then heavy cargo as well. And then here you can see here just like urban places too. And then obviously we have this interesting thing, which is emergency transport. And they have this use case. It's a flying ambulance. Now, again, this is just my opinion. I'm just sharing with it. In America, I don't really see that making sense, at least today. Maybe, a few years from now, that's going to be like the norm. But maybe in China, that's much more feasible because obviously, depending on how the structures are lived and based off what I've seen, there's much more like buildings, and they're not really as spread out like America, where people live in like these massive like country lands, and you drive like hundreds of miles on the interstates and highways. But either way, this is really cool. This is I'd say cheaper, obviously version, and it's also I feel like this would be easier if you can actually land these in tighter places around cities. Then you could get to people who are injured or need help easier. Because if you're a helicopter, you can't just land down the middle of like a downtown area because it's going to be insane and it's just not going to make sense. But for like if these can actually just land in like typical roadway in the middle of downtown or something, this could be definitely feasible. But obviously that's some of their plans for that, which I think is really interesting. And then here's the firefighting one. So again, yeah, it looks a little smaller than the passenger ones, obviously, but looks like you actually fit somebody. I don't know. I have to make sure if you can see, but it looks like this is like an equivalent example. There's the ones in the States I've seen where they have the that they're just miniature drone just shooting like this the water out of the thing. But this one's actually cool use case there as well. And it seems like they have like a big portfolio in terms of pretty much any benefit of using a drone type vehicle, they have usually it. So it's like firefighting, ambulance, transportation, logistics, etc. And then here's just like a quick just view of like the centralized part where they control everything, which I shared you already a little bit of that. And then they have some financial highlights too, which you can check out. And then obviously these are not in USD, so I don't know the conversions. And just some highlights: the world's first and only publicly traded urban air mobility company. And obviously you can see some more content here. But I think the first one is actually pretty interesting here, knowing that there are a lot of competing companies doing something quite similar. But that's pretty cool. And then here's just more like visuals. Now let's go over to the actual white paper, because this is the more detailed version, and you can see the table of contents and like how realistic is this, etc. And there's some cool things I want to skim through here because I thought they were pretty interesting to show you, that I don't think many people are just like going into details of. They're more just saying like the stock price and predictions. But I think this stuff is pretty cool in terms of like seeing like what is the actual behind the scenes of these like companies, right? So this is more like detailed stuff here, but again, this is more of the this is like the command center. Think of this as like controlling everything, because right now, if it's their main goal, obviously is being automated, where they have someone centralized controlling things, and that's just for it to make sure that there's no human error, which they state that some of the risk factors is for like typical airplanes. There's the human error, right? Just the pilot's tired, something happens to him, then you pretty much you there's not much you can really do, right? Besides the safety nets behind that, but that's pretty cool. And then you can see here's like a little structure, and they like transport around, and these are like the ones where they just chilling waiting, and then they have the application here. So that's pretty cool too. And some thoughts, again, these are just my thoughts, but I'm thinking like major carpooling type ride sharing companies that have this massive user base, like think of like a Uber or a Lyft, could either easily merge with these companies or combine some sort of way to where they can just basically get those users just like that, and boom, if you want to get a aerial drone transportation, you just go click on the button and there you go. So that's something interesting I could definitely see happening, unless these companies obviously make like their own user base and their own applications. But here, this is like their main characteristics, obviously autonomous services, everything here. But I want to show you more of the like the actual details, right? Because it's like, this is cool and all, but what is the the use of it? So here's the flight range, and this is in kilometers, but you can do the conversion. I believe 1 mile is like 1.6 km. I mean, you could Google it really quick, but here's stating the range, short to medium. So this is, think of it as the that like extra last few miles that obviously airplanes at airports can't complete. So it's either you have to drive there with your own car or use some carpooling service. But this way, this is another use case for that. And then the elevation, this one's interesting, and this is just my own opinion, because I've seen the Amazon like videos or people like the risk of having drone delivery, and it's obviously it's not a thing today, but in the future I could see this happening. And here it states the meters. It's stating that the actual vehicle will remain at below 800 meters, which in feet I believe that's like less than like 2.6K, give or take. I'd have to go double check the conversion, but pretty much that's not that that's not that high, right? Obviously, I mean, you're thousands of feet in the air, but compared to like traditional airlines when they stayed at 8,000 to 12K meters, like you're literally a fraction of it. So what are my thoughts? And this is just my own opinion, but I've seen videos where there's like little kids, or like they see the Amazon drone about to like drop the package off at a like someone's house, and they like throw a football at it or something and damages the drone, right? So obviously these are massive compared to a little tiny Amazon drone delivering some box. But I'm curious to see if anyone has resources or links to the safety of this. Like, what happens if like a bird's flying and runs into something, or you know what I mean? Like if something hits the one of the propellers on this drone, and then next thing you know, it's like you're thousands of feet in the air, right? Because it's such a low range to where that stuff possibly could be an issue, especially if you're like in a big downtown city and people are like on top of the roofs, and they have they're basically the same height as the actual vehicle. So that's something that if you have more research on showing like what happens if it hits something in the air, like how it reacts. I know they did show like the it's safer in sense of there's multiple propellers, so that if one case like it fails, there's still like it still can maintain. Versus like a helicopter, I mean, you got the one giant propeller on the top. So if a helicopter fails, then like there's nothing you can do, right? So that's definitely, I think, something I want to see more details on if someone has resources for. And then obviously they have the automated, the control system just to make sure everything's going well. And then everything here like power system capacity. But let's just look at the comparisons, right? So here UAV, just in case you don't know, is unmanned air vehicles. So basically drones versus passenger drones, right? So here AAVs, which is autonomous air vehicles, you can see can carry both passengers and the freights. The UAVs, unmanned, obviously doesn't have people, so it excludes passengers. Centralized command control, that's good. And then one-to-one control or centralized control, a little bit the same. Connection, it looks like the AAV has better connection capabilities, or it looks like almost similar. And then long remote control range globally, and then mostly short range, okay? And then you can see here the payload 200 to 600 kgs, and then small payload only 10 kgs. So that's a big difference here in like the weight that they can carry. Now here's the one I want to show you because I was talking about helicopters earlier. Like I said, so they state here the higher safety led by distributed propulsion system (DPS) because they have multiple propellers, and then helicopter has one, right? So obviously, I mean, helicopters seem to be doing quite well, but that's something I'm interested to see because it's multiple. So it's like, what happens if, let's say, like 20%? So let's say like 20% of the propellers, obviously, depending on how many are on the vehicle, fail. Will it still be able to maintain it? And those are just some of the thoughts I'm thinking of. This one too, full automation. So that's interesting. So that's like a pro and a con, right? If they get the technology to work where it's like for sure it doesn't have any issues, then yes, that makes sense. But if you follow Tesla automating the self-driving, that's taken years to perfect, and it's still it's not perfect, right? So that's definitely with at least a Tesla, for instance, self-driving cars in general. You're on the road, and like worst case, you can just you can steer the wheel if something happens, right? But when you're in the air and you literally are just sitting in a vehicle, right, like a passenger drone, and something goes wrong, like I don't really see how you're basically you can't do anything about it. It's like either something happens bad or it fixes, right? Reasonably priced, so they actually show a price, which I'll show you in a second because they show the prices too, which is it's interesting. It's not super cheap, obviously, but it's much cheaper than helicopters and airplanes. And obviously, the additional cost is having pilots, right? Whether it's helicopter or just a normal airplane, pilots. I mean, what's the average salary? Like a six-figure range, give or take. Literally, it's just a centralized automation / the person controlling at the system. And then low repair maintenance costs. Again, we have to see like how that works. And it's low noise. That's cool. Zero emission. That's definitely a good selling point here. Versus like gasoline powered things. And then it's small in size too. These are good features to have comparing it to obviously helicopters. And then you can see here some more key advantages to cars. So again, fully autonomous, human drivers, safety concerns, the negatives for cars. Then we got the ground routes, so you can't just fly over like a forest or a lake. Less stable, negative low profit margins. Okay, so that's pretty interesting here. And then let me see if I can find the particular part that I was looking at. So this one shows the like economic losses by traffic congestion. And this is comparing like U.S., at least the major cities in the U.S., and then obviously additional countries. And you can take a look into here, but I want to share you more of the just like the actual vehicle purposes here. And yeah, these are some interesting points to actually consider. And these are just like historical things and like 1950s estates. But yeah, let me scroll down the bottom because I want to share with you just some more parts down here that are I think really interesting to know. So here's the actual cost, right? So this is just for I believe this is the 2-passenger EH216. And RMB, when I converted that to USD, it's around like a 300K-ish, give or take, price. And then you can see the comparison. So that's that 2-passenger drone vehicle is around 300K, give or take, which is that's not that much compared to like luxury sports cars, which is actually quite interesting. And then obviously you can see here like the driver pilots RMB a year. So I mean that's actually interesting pricing here. But in terms of like the maintenance cost, is low here, and then there's no emission. So that's a big selling point is the emission part. And then let's see, there's some more showing like how big the market could be. It seems like logistics tends to be the one that has the biggest share. Transportation, it's like again, it's there, but I don't see it being like massive because it's how many people are actually going to be flying around these massive drones in cities, and if it is, like how many can you even keep in the air before it becomes like insane and there's not enough like there's no more room for these people to like just fly around without colliding and whatnot. And then obviously there's some more stuff here, but let me show. There's one. I think there's a couple things I want to show near the end that I think were actually cool to see. Let me just scroll down here and check it out. So yeah, one thing too, you're probably wondering like how these are powered. This has battery technology. So that's another thing too. They show in one of their videos on their YouTube channel like how they actually charge it up and stuff. So it's pretty cool there. So that's actually interesting to see again. And this is just more some design stuff here. But yeah, that's pretty much like a little summary run through of their white paper. And since you made it this far in the video, I want to give you guys this reward. So if you want to get 2 free stocks valued up to $1,850, then you can go ahead in the description below and click on that first link and then sign up with an account on Webull. And once you deposit $100 minimum, you will receive 2 free stocks that could potentially be valued up to $1,850. And if you decide to use my link, I will also receive 2 free stocks as well, and that benefits both of us. So if you haven't already, go ahead and sign up with Webull. And aside from that, if you want to follow along to see more updates, news in the market, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, comment down below your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video.